2013 to 2014 NBA season was filled with a ton of controversy, but also a lot of high moments. With LeBron James' contract with Miami expiring, it seemed that teams would start being shaken up towards the end of the season. But with one last go, the Miami Heat were looking at a three-peat in the NBA Finals, but would face a tough opponent in the San Antonio Spurs, who would go 62-20 that NBA season. Miami Heat would go 54-28, and people could not have asked for a better matchup in the NBA Finals. LeBron James, coming off a season where he averaged 27 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists, played in 77 games, was selected to his 10th All-Star team, was looking to will the Heat to the first three-peat in franchise history and one of the very first three-peats of all time, especially in the modern day. LeBron James knew that it would take a lot to get past this tough Spurs team, though, which saw the likes of Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, and Tony Parker all take place to form the French Connection, along with Tim Duncan manning the post at an all-time level. Nothing, though, was more controversial this season than the Game 1 of the 2013 to 2014 NBA Finals, in which the AC inside of Frost Bank Center randomly shut off. The AC being turned off inside of the building would lead to temperatures soaring.
AC go out. What were you thinking? What were they thinking?
Hey, good morning, Kelly. That's a good question. There was an announcement made over the loudspeaker. I was at the game watching it. I wish I wore my bathing suit. It was a little warm. They just said we're having some problems with the electrical current to the AC, and we're working to get it fixed. And just bear with us. And everyone had fans, and everyone started cheering, and it was 90 degrees inside, from what I understand. 87 degrees outside. It was cooler outside the arena than it was inside.
Temperatures inside would rise around to 90 degrees Fahrenheit or 32 degrees Celsius within the arena, an abnormal temperature for NBA players to perform in at such a high level. With all the running, jumping, cutting, change of direction, sweat, body heat in the arena, temperatures became unsafe to play in. Teams carried through, trying their hardest to push through, especially in the fourth quarter, which is when the AC shut off. The fourth quarter would turn into one of the most controversial fourth quarters the NBA has ever seen. The NBA has seen many controversies in the finals before, but in my opinion, this is one of the bigger ones. Now, of course, the San Antonio Spurs do not take any accountability this AC failure, but it goes down as one of the bigger what ifs. What if the AC didn't shut off? Today, I want to discuss that, and I want to get into what caused the AC failure and what happened. Why was this so important in the long run? Now, judging on how this series only went to 5 games, it is very evident that the AC failure in Game 1 probably would not have changed the outcome of who would have ended up winning the NBA Finals. But when you break down the statistics of it, 70.7% of the time, the NBA team to win the first game in a series would go on to win outright. And the number would increase to 77%. The team that won had home court advantage in Game 1, because then you are more than likely to carry the momentum into Game 2. All of a sudden, you're up 2-0. You can steal one on the road in Games 3 and 4, leading to a 3-1 lead, which at that point, no one had ever overcame in the finals until LeBron would do it a few years later. June 5th, 2014 was when Game 1 of the NBA Finals happened in San Antonio. The AT&T Center, as I said, rose to 90 degrees Fahrenheit when LeBron James and Tim Duncan were trading blows in the fourth quarter. The Miami Heat would hold a narrow lead going into the fourth quarter, sitting at a 78-74 after a major performance in the third from Miami, which would have them score 29 points to the Spurs 20. But the fourth quarter is where the damage was done. With about 4 minutes left, LeBron James would leave the game due to severe leg.
So what was going on with LeBron James? Everybody obviously having to deal with the same conditions. He had some issues obviously last night.
Yes, Pat, LeBron has a history of cramping. Our guy in Miami says during home games, they really crank the AC to keep it really cool for him. I mean, he's a lean, muscular guy. He's cramped before. It's just something that happens to him.
The Spurs would then go on a run after LeBron James left the game, outscoring the Heat and winning 110-90. LeBron was heavily criticized after this game for not toughing it out, but many players did defend it. Players like Danny Green even said that if he played as many minutes as LeBron, he probably would have been cramping too. Danny Green would also score 11 of his 13 points in the fourth quarter. Spurs players, especially Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, and Tony Parker, were praised for staying composed under the extreme heat. Now, I don't want to bring up how Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker, especially at that time, AC wasn't that widespread throughout Europe yet. So growing up, they probably played basketball in worse conditions than they did in NBA arenas, which would give them more of a tolerance, which would help them in the moment in which the AC went out. Again, that is just conspiracy. That is just my thinking. But Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili most certainly were more experienced in those conditions. Many conspiracy theories after the game were floated around, that the Spurs intentionally sabotaged the AC in order to make a Game 1 comeback. And many NBA fans were upset that the game wasn't postponed. Why would you have the players compete under heavy heavy circumstances as of this in 90-degree heat. The NBA more than likely did not postpone the game for ratings and money, but they should have postponed the game, especially in my opinion, just for the well-being of the players. No NBA players should have to make millions of dollars, be the best at what they do, and play in 90 degrees. They are not in the G League. They are not in a developmental league. These are the best of the best. LeBron James could have waited 15 minutes and been fine. The NBA could have waited 15 minutes and be fine. Many NBA fans also said that LeBron James couldn't handle adversity, and that would start a false narrative towards him in which LeBron was soft and unable to handle diversity in the NBA. The problem is that the Spurs were also affected by this AC change. The AC change would, of course, not only affect Miami Heat players, that's just not how temperature changes work. But as I said earlier, many NBA fans thought players Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili and how they were brought up in limited AC conditions, they would be more tolerant to those conditions and therefore being able to perform better in those conditions as well. Adam Silver would call the AC failure unfortunate, but not sabotage. It would be listed as a genuine technical failure, not intentional. The Spurs would then go on to win the series in 5 games, dominating the Heat in and out. LeBron's cramping narrative would also be fueled, and player conditioning and arena infrastructure was looked into further, and how can we better arena infrastructure and cause less cramps. It became known as one of the strangest moments in NBA history. It really does baffle me, however, how the Miami Heat were looking to steal Game 1 on the road in San Antonio, which could have changed the entire narrative of the 2014 NBA season. We got to think about everything that played in. They're looking for a three-peat. It's LeBron's last year. If they win this championship, does LeBron re-sign in Miami? Who knows? They win this championship, how does Cleveland turn out over the next couple of years if LeBron stays? The very first three-peat in the modern day, especially in modern day history, would have been accomplished, and the Miami Heat would have continued to be a dynasty in Miami. The San Antonio Spurs were just built too tough. The San Antonio Spurs were just a better team, and the San Antonio Spurs threw everything at LeBron James, who just couldn't handle the pressure in that moment. A lot of success, though, can be contributed to Kawhi Leonard, the eventual Finals MVP, who in that season, in 23 games, put up only 14.5 points a night, 1.7 assists, and 6.5 rebounds. But his defense against the best players on the other team would lead San Antonio to a ring, and his 42% from the three made him a threat from all angles. This was the series that broke Kawhi Leonard into the player that he is today. Kawhi Leonard is the player he is today because of his performance in the 2014 playoff.
Kawhi Leonard. The fans of San Antonio know how great you are, and now the whole world does. You are the 2014 Bill Russell MVP.
And the AC being shut off was a nightmare for the Heat. LeBron James would leave and rejoin the Cleveland Cavaliers, and then go into one of the biggest rivalries with the Golden State Warriors. LeBron James, of course, would have many memorable moments in his return to Cleveland until he went to LA, where he is now. But fans can't help wonder what would have happened if the AC never shut off in game number 1 of the 2014 NBA Finals. How would narratives be different? How would the league have reacted if the game was postponed? What would have happened if they postponed the game and LeBron doesn't cramp? Do the Spurs go on a 36-17 run in the fourth quarter? That was the point differential in the fourth quarter, 36-17. At some point, it just becomes too obvious that maybe something was up. Is this me cherry picking? Is it a real conspiracy? We'll never know. But for now, it's a technical failure, and the Spurs are the 2014 NBA champions.